Greetings and salutations, all of you salty sirens out there, and you fabulous fans of we, the hosts of the ever so popular Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And yet again, we are joined by the most superest of all the super fans, our glorious, chained and otherwise like tethered artist, the badass Jesse.
Hello.
Or was she pushed?
Words. My thoughts exactly.
Indeed. We are thrilled to have you, and thank you for hanging out for even more fun after just guesting on an episode. So it's good times. And it was good times. All right. Well, moving on. So the reason we are here is that Michael had something that he wished to subject all of you to, and he believes would be a good time for me to get lodged in. Now, granted, this is after the final thing we did have me engaging in oral sex with Steven. So
I mean, not the worst thing in the world.
How spicy that was.
Indeed. Yes. Like a Sicilian sausage, that thing. But if you're curious about that, you can find it in the archives here on the good old fan friction playlist. We're going to add to that today. So, Michael, do you have a preamble that you want to hurl at the kids as far as what this thing represents?
This was an essay written by, I think he was a science fiction novelist of some sort. It was written in 1969, and it was pretty much an analysis of Superman.
Nice.
Almost like a fan, not a fiction of sorts, but just like,
would you say
what happens if Superman did something in particular?
What happens when?
Yes. It is titled Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex by a Larry Niven.
Niven, yes.
Love you.
So if Superman is occasionally possessed of an amorous ardor, this might be what occurs. Okay.
Oh, God.
I'm excited. And the first line makes me think of John because he's faster than a speeding bullet. All right. So we here now present to all of you, the lovely listeners, this glorious work, Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex. But in case you're completely unfamiliar with who we are, we host a weekly podcast where we like to delve into random esoteric topics and we lie about them. It's called the Disinformed Podcast. If you don't know that already, what is wrong with you? Find us. There's a link tree below with all the good stuff. And of course, before we start, Mr. Michael has got some instructions for you.
Well, if you like what we're doing here and you're really fascinated, I don't know why, but you can smash that like button, ring the bell, hit the subscribe, just smash everything, just destroy everything you can. And then also engage with us by leaving a comment. Please tell us how we're doing,
And
whether it's bad or great or terrible.
And if you comment on this episode, Courtney will send you Michael's address, and you can do whatever you want with it. Anything. Nothing's off limits.
Be careful
I'm
what you
open
wish
for
for, as they say.
Yeah,
You
Jess
just
will be
get it.
taking that home as her consolation prize this evening. So thanks for
We will
being with
give you
us.
his address.
So I will confess, because he's watching right now, Dr. Michael did indicate to me in our Facebook exchanges that he's like, I find it funny that Courtney has yet to give me Michael's address, but I have hers now. So
Haha, the
what sick
turntables.
turnabout is this?
You know what? We could also just get Michael's IP address and give that to Dr. Michael.
He'd know
Gonna
what to
hack
do with
into
it.
my mainfall.
That's what you call it.
You're gonna smash that
Oh.
die button.
Right in the die.
Oh,
All right.
God. Go.
Well, Dr. Michael, thank you for being here. Lovely to see you as always. I'm sure we'll be chatting later. Moving on, we now present to you Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex. He's faster than a speeding bullet. He's more powerful than a locomotive. He's able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Why can't he get a girl? At the ripe old age of 31, Superman first appeared in Action Comics June of 1938. Kal-El, alias Superman, alias Clark Kent, is still unmarried. Almost certainly, he is still a virgin. This is a serious matter. The species itself is in danger. An unwed Superman is a mobile Superman. Thus, it has been alleged that those who chronicle the Man of Steel's adventures are responsible for his condition, but the cartoonists are not to blame. Nor is Superman handicapped by psychological problems. Granted that the poor oaf is not entirely sane. How could he be? He is an orphan, a refugee, and an alien. His homeland no longer exists in any form, save for gigatons upon gigatons of dangerous, prettily colored rocks. As a child and a young adult, Kal-El must have been hard put to find an adequate father figure. What human could control his antisocial behavior? What human would dare try to punish him? His actual highly social behavior during this period indicates an inhuman self-restraint. What wonder if Superman drifted gradually into schizophrenia? Torn between his human and Kryptonite identity, torn between his human and Kryptonian identities, he chose to be both, keeping his split personalities rigidly separate. A psychotic desperation is evident in his defense of his secret identity. But Superman's sex problems are strictly physiological and quite real. The purpose of this article is to point out some medical drawbacks to being a Kryptonian among human beings and to suggest possible solutions. The Kryptonian humanoid must not be allowed to go the way of the pterodactyl and the passenger pigeon. So 1. What turns on a Kryptonian? Superman is an alien, an extraterrestrial. His humanoid frame is doubtless the result of parallel evolution, as the marsupials of Australia resemble their mammalian counterparts. A specific niche in the ecology calls for a certain shape, a certain size, certain capabilities, certain eating habits. Be not deceived by appearances. Superman is no relative to Homo sapiens. What arouses Kal-El's mating urge? Did Kryptonian women carry some subtle mating cue at appropriate times of the year? Are they Satanists?
Whatever. I understand why you like this so much.
Also, if you're not watching Michael's stupid face the whole time Shane's reading your
Literally all
I am tickled pink.
This NFer is beaming right now.
So we're finding out that Kryptonians are LaVeyan Satanists. That's wonderful.
Pretty much.
Standing in the corner going, whatever it is, Lois Lane probably didn't have it. We may speculate that she smells wrong, less like a Kryptonian woman than like a terrestrial monkey. A mating between Superman and Lois Lane would feel like sodomy and would be, of course, by church and common law.
What?
I think the question they're asking is, how dry do you want it?
Like a desert in my mouth. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Part 2. Assume a mating between Superman and a human woman designated LL for convenience.
Oh, good.
Oh, just take the woman's name right out.
LL Bean.
The argument behind that is that it's not just Lois Lane. He has I think 2 other love interests in the course of his.
Yes, Lana.
Yeah, they're all
yes,
LL
they're all
initials.
LLs, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it's not cutting out Lois Lane. It's just saying it's including the other ones that are in.
Apparently, he enjoys alliteration.
Yes.
Alliterative L's in particular. All right. So either Superman has gone completely schizo and believes himself to be Clark Kent, or he knows what he's doing but no longer gives a damn. 31 years is a long time, I can attest. For Superman, it has been even longer. He has X-ray vision, so he knows just what he's missing. Yes, John.
And this might be an arguable point. So does this X-ray vision, does that mean he's just seeing down to the bones, or does he get to control the scope of the X-ray?
I mean, you would imagine if he has control of many of his other abilities and faculties, he may be able to cycle in and out. If he wants to see how her liver's holding up, or whether or not she's got sandbags up top, then I imagine he would know.
Do you think he's really harsh on push-up bras?
I mean, how could you not be? If Mark Zuckerberg taught us nothing, it's that we have to be completely intolerant of push-up bras.
That is a real deep pull reference, and I'm here for it.
I appreciate you.
Quarantine made me intolerant of all bras in general, so
I agree.
Fair
I
enough,
just threw them all out.
Me
There you
too.
go.
For those of us who grew up looking at the National Geographic frequently, we are all very happy to see folks unencumbered by bras. But moving on. So here we are. The parenthetical to what he's saying is Superman's X-ray vision would give him a little unfair advantage, or a disadvantage, per se. One should not think of Superman as a peeping Tom, John. A biological ability must be used. As a child, Superman may have never known that things had surfaces until he learned to suppress his X-ray vision. If millions of people tend shamelessly to wear clothing with no lead in the weave, that is hardly Superman's fault. He can't see through lead, by the way, if you're not familiar with the comic
X-rays.
canon. Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is this. Electroencephalograms taken of men and women during sexual intercourse showed that orgasm resembles a kind of pleasurable epileptic attack. One loses control over one's muscles.
Oh, no.
Superman has been known to leave his fingerprints in steel and in hardened concrete accidentally. So what would he do to the woman in his arms during what amounts to an epileptic fit?
Is it Henry Cavill Superman?
Yes.
Sure.
Then it's
if
fine.
it helps
It's
you.
fine.
you're-
Whatever
okay.
he wants. It's fine. We're letting it happen.
Absolutely. That
Are
man
you
But
saying
can do
he's a walking
whatever.
Sibian?
So I do enjoy that now we're going to have the image of Henry Cavill ripping Courtney like a fucking paper towel.
Like
Not
a
It's
even
a
Kleenex.
day for me.
And now you've said it, so there will be art.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
I'm hanging it over our bed.
Why can't you be like him?
You're
Like
like,
Hey,
him.
we can actually... I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
You're great. I was going to say Jonah is officially second in command.
Third in command. That picture of Henry Cavill has more say than he does.
Say what you want about Jesus, but you leave Henry Cavill out of it.
We can also finally pay off some teasing fan fiction that I came up with during my Gary Heidnick episode, and that we can have Henry Cavill wrapping his penis in Courtney's offal and then, pleasuring himself with it. That's, be a good
I
time.
love this episode.
Still counts.
We're seeing officially how far I can take things before we get noticed enough to be kicked off of YouTube.
Yes.
That's where we're here this evening. So we may
Cancel me,
just,
Daddy.
in infamy,
You
Cancel.
won't cancel it. You don't have the balls.
Michael, did you already order those stickers? Can you change it to say hashtag cancel me daddy instead?
Oh, yeah. I actually need to pick them up
This
tomorrow.
platform let Alex Jones talk on it for years.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Cancel me, Daddy.
cancel me like the last president tried to cancel capitalism.
Oh, God.
All right, here we go. Part 3. Consider the driving urge between a man and a woman. The monomaniacal urge to achieve greater and greater penetration. Remember also that we are dealing with Kryptonian muscles. Superman would literally crush LL's body in his arms while simultaneously ripping her open from crotch to sternum, gutting her like a trout.
Sounds like a bad time, right?
Worth it.
What smells
Still
like
in.
fish? Part 4. Lastly, he'd blow off the top of her head. Ejaculation of semen is entirely involuntary in the human male and in all other forms of terrestrial life. It would be unreasonable to assume otherwise for a Kryptonian. But with Kryptonian muscles behind it, Kal-El's semen would emerge with the muzzle velocity of a machine gun bullet.
Do you think that each of his little swimmers wear cape?
Well, considering that I think like in the golden age, he was able to produce little versions of himself out of his fingertips, like
Well,
complete with their
your
outfits and
too.
everything. Yeah. So why not?
I mean, even his dog wore a cape, so it's not
Yeah.
unnatural to expect that his semen would.
It all comes down to branding.
It all
Faster
comes.
than a
Yes.
speeding bullet.
One can also imagine that the Kent home in Smallville, much like John's home, was riddled with holes during Superboy's puberty. And why did Lana Lang, thank you, why did Lana Lang never notice that?
Heart wants what the heart wants.
Martha walks in, she's like, Clark, I can see out into the fields when I goes to use the restroom. I'm like,
It's
must have
crazy.
been the-
My BB gun just kept going off.
it must have
Somebody
been
was
the
just
dog,
shooting
Mom.
shotgun. Like someone just came up to our house and started peppering it with shotgun blasts.
Michael,
I
did
don't
you-
know.
Michael, did you find this because of your proclivities?
No, I heard this on a podcast that I frequent, and they mentioned it in passing, and they only read section I think 3 and section 2 and 3.
Okay.
And so I just had to dig further. It was
Well, I'll
fantastic.
shut up so we can keep going.
Speaking of digging further, back to the trout. In view of the foregoing, normal sex is impossible between LL and Superman. Artificial insemination may give us better results. Part 5. First, we must collect the semen. The globules will emerge at transonic speeds. Superman must first ejaculate, then fly frantically after the stuff to catch it in a test tube. He could just enlist the Flash to catch it too. Let's not just miss this entirely.
What
This
if
is a team
instead?
effort.
What if instead they put like a little bit of kryptonite into a capsule and put it into the next thing that he drinks?
He's not going to get it up at that point, my friend.
Yeah, he's
It's
weak in all
whiskey dick to
regards.
Superman.
All right, I'm sorry
Oh,
for being
shit,
insensitive.
you're right.
It's you after a gummy, John. It just wants to go to sleep and cry. So
Okay, that makes sense.
I
So,
understand everything now.
at least if we enlist Flash, Barry Allen is a scientist. He has been dealing with test tubes the entirety of his adult life.
Also,
I think that we can trust him with this.
I do want to
That's a fair point,
apologize to YouTube because I did not mean to insinuate that we should date rap Superman. I didn't. That's not what I meant to say.
I think it certainly
I
sounds
didn't
like
even
that.
hear you say anything of the sort, but
That's exactly
okay,
what
with the
you
Put
said.
something
kryptonite,
in
yeah,
the drink.
you're green kryptoniting
That's not what
his
I meant.
drink.
That's not
This
what I
man is a bartender for a living, by the way, folks. So I would avoid him like the plague if you want to get good and intoxicated out in public
Woo.
and not find yourself in an alley somewhere.
I don't serve any.
And this video is not for children.
Indeed.
Oh, yes, thank you for adding that.
Mention
Though,
that before, the
uh,
show is not for kids.
Well, this part of the show is trying to make kids. That's why we're talking
Making
about it.
kids.
So
Not
True
here we
that.
are.
them.
So
So you can't do it that route because then he couldn't just get up at all. So you
Indeed.
have to get Barry Allen, or he has to fly after his own semen like a Chuck Palahniuk novel.
exactly, which I think is going to be a problem unless he could try shooting into water, see whether or not that slows the trajectory, and then, but we
Greatest
don't want to
novel.
dilute it.
Well, it could even vaporize it or something like that. Like,
All right, well, moving on. We assume that he is on the moon, both for privacy and to prevent the semen from exploding into vapor on hitting the air at such speeds. He can catch the semen, of course, before it evaporates in vacuum. He's
Okay.
faster than a speeding bullet. But can he keep it? All known forms of Kryptonian life have superpowers. The same must hold true of living Kryptonian sperm. We may reasonably assume that Kryptonian sperm are vulnerable only to starvation and to green kryptonite. That they can travel with equal ease through water, air, vacuum, glass, brick, boiling steel, solid steel, liquid helium, or the core of a star, and that they are capable of translight velocities. And also, they taste delicious in a mixed drink.
pineapple.
No.
What?
Wait, so he can rip you in half like a piece of paper, but
He-
that's crossing the line.
You can't split in a
I
drink.
will. Henry Cavill can wreck my body in ways that I cannot comprehend, but tasting his pineapple sperm, no, that's too far. That's the line.
Pineapple
I have
does
a
not belong on
thing,
sperm.
We won't get into it now.
Got it.
Go on.
No.
That's
No.
on our OnlyFans. You can subscribe in the link below.
Yes.
It's the After Dark.
Is that like below the belt?
It's after dark in the dark, actually.
There you go.
Not where I
I
come
like
from.
that
Uh,
better.
all right. So, what kind of a test tube will hold such beasties? Kryptonian sperm and their unusual powers will give us further trouble. For the moment, we will assume, because we must, that they tend to stay in the seminal fluid, which tends to stay in a simple glass tube. Thus, Superman and LL can perform artificial insemination. At least there will be another generation of Kryptonians. Or will there? Part 6. A ripened but unfertilized egg leaves LL's ovary, begins its voyage down her fallopian tube. Sometime later, tens of millions of sperm released from a test tube begin their own voyage up LL's fallopian tube, or up LL's fallopian tube. The magic moment approaches, like ships in the night. Can human breed with Kryptonian? Do we even use the same genetic code? On the face of it, LL could more easily breed with an ear of corn than with Kal-El, but coincidence does happen if the genes match. One sperm arrives before the others. It penetrates the egg, forms a lump on its surface. The cell wall now thickens to prevent other sperm from entering. Within the now fertilized egg, changes take place, and 10 million Kryptonian sperm arrive slightly late. Were they human sperm, they would be out of luck. But these tiny blind things are more powerful than a locomotive. A thickened cell wall won't stop them. They will all enter the egg, obliterating it entirely in an orgy of microscopic gang rape. So much for artificial insemination. But LL's problems are just beginning.
Oh no, is this going to turn into
Also,
Alien?
that's not how they would do artificial insemination if you went into a doctor to do it, because they would fertilize the egg with a single sperm and then they would implant that.
Well,
Are you an
This
expert
was
on
also
Superman
back in the
insemination?
60s, so we don't know how barbaric these
In the
situations
60s, they were
were.
basically taking like a turkey baster, filling it up with spunk, and then just hurling it at people, usually through the ear.
Like how Michael was made. Okay.
Congratulations, you're pregnant. All right. I'm going to stop
done.
reading the subheadings here because it doesn't really matter unless you're following along. So, within her body, there are still tens of millions of frustrated Kryptonian sperm. The single egg is now too diffuse to be a target. The sperm scatter. They scatter without regard to what is in their path. They leave curved channels, microscopically small. Presently, all will have found their way to the open air. That leaves LL with several million microscopic perforations, all leading deep into her abdomen. Most of the channels will intersect one or more loops of intestine. Peritonitis is inevitable. LL becomes desperately ill. Meanwhile, tens of millions of sperm swarm in the air over Metropolis. What a delightful thought. Now, this is more serious than it looks. Consider, these sperm are virtually indestructible. Within days or weeks, they will die for lack of nourishment. Meanwhile, they cannot be affected by heat, cold, vacuum, toxins, or anything short of green kryptonite and other forms of kryptonite. For instance, there are chunks of red kryptonite that make giants of Kryptonians. Imagine 10 million earthworm-sized spermatozoa swarming over Metropolis Beach, diving to fertilize the beach balls. But I digress. There they are, minuscule but dangerous, for each has supernormal powers. Metropolis is shaken by tiny sonic booms. Wormholes, charred by meteoric heat, sprout magically in all kinds of things: plate glass, masonry, antique ceramics, electric mixers, wood, household pets, and citizens. Some of the sperm will crack light speed. The Metropolis night comes alive with a network of narrow, eerie blue lines of Cherenkov radiation, and women whom Superman has never met find themselves in a delicate condition. Consider, LL won't get pregnant because there were too many of the blind, mindless beasts. But whenever one sperm approaches an unfertilized human egg in its panic flight, it will attack. How close is close enough? A few centimeters? Are sperm attracted by chemical cues? It seems likely. Metropolis had a population of millions, and Kryptonian sperm could travel a long and crooked path billions of miles before it gives up and dies. Several thousand blessed events seem not unlikely. If the pubescent Superboy plays with himself, we have the same problem over Smallville. It's like an A-bomb cloud. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide everyone.
Several thousand lawsuits would follow. Not that Superman can't afford to pay. There's a trick where you squeeze a lump of coal into its allotropic diamond form. The above analysis gives us part of the answer. In our experiment in artificial insemination, we must use a single sperm. This presents no difficulty. Superman may use his microscopic vision and a pair of tiny tweezers to pluck a sperm from the swarm. In its eagerness, the single sperm may crash through LL's abdomen at transonic speeds, wreaking havoc. Is there any way to slow it down? There is. We can expose it to gold kryptonite. Gold kryptonite, we remember, robs a Kryptonian of all of his supernormal powers permanently. Were we to expose Superman himself to gold kryptonite, we would solve all of his sex problems, but he would be Clark Kent forever. We may regard this solution as somewhat drastic. But we can expose the test tube of seminal fluid to gold kryptonite, then use standard techniques for artificial insemination, which does not involve the ear canal. By any of these methods, we can get LL pregnant without killing her. Are we out of the woods yet? Though exposed to gold kryptonite, the sperm still carries Kryptonian genes. If these are recessive, then LL carries a developing human fetus. There will be no more Supermen, but at least we need not worry about the mother's health. But if some or all of the Kryptonian genes are dominant, can the infant use his X-ray vision before birth? After all, with such a power, he can probably see through his own eyelids, even if they're closed. That would leave LL sterile. If the kid starts using his heat vision, things could get even worse. But when he starts to kick, it's all over. He will kick his way out into the open air, killing himself and his mother. Is there a solution? There are several. Each has drawbacks. We can make LL wear a kryptonite belt around her waist. For our purposes, all forms of kryptonite are available in unlimited quantities. It has been estimated from the startling tonnage of kryptonite fallen to Earth since the explosion of Krypton that the planet must have outweighed our entire solar system. Doubtless, the planet Krypton was a cooling black dwarf star, one of a binary pair, the other member being a red giant. But too little kryptonite may allow the child to damage her, while too much may damage or kill the child. Intermediate amounts may do both, and there is no safe way to experiment. A better solution is to find a host mother. We've not yet considered the existence of a Supergirl. She can't mate with Superman because she's his first cousin. Only a Cad would suggest differently.
Roll Tide, yeah.
But that's where we draw the line in this story.
He landed in Kansas, not Alabama.
Oh.
She could carry the child without harm, but Supergirl has a secret identity, and her secret identity is no more married than Supergirl herself. If she turned up pregnant, she would probably be thrown out of school. A better solution... She probably know. Yes, she was in high school at the time of this. A better solution may be to implant the growing fetus in Superman himself. Anybody else watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic Junior?
I try to forget.
I have nothing to wear. My nipples are so sensitive. There are places in a man's abdomen where a fetus could draw adequate nourishment, growing as a parasite, and where it would not cause undue harm to surrounding organs. Presumably, Clark Kent can take a leave of absence more easily than Supergirl's schoolgirl alter ego. So when the time comes, the child would be removed by cesarean section. It would have to be removed early, but there would be no problem with incubators as long as it was fed. I leave the problem of cutting through Superman's invulnerable skin as an exercise for the alert reader. The mind boggles at the image of a pregnant Superman cruising through the skies of Metropolis. Batman would refuse to be seen with him. Strange new jokes would circulate the prisons, and the race of Krypton would be safe at last.
What a narcissistic fantasy.
I am at a loss for words.
That was a lot.
I absolutely love when fans of a work just take theories up to 11 where they just like, well, let's assume, because Superboy is a thing in the comics, right?
Mhm.
He had, that actually, one of the reasons why I did want to read this was because in one of the more recent comics, I think it was Superboy came out as bisexual.
That was very recent, yeah.
Yes.
What's
So
his name, John?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
John Wick, yes. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. For all intents and purposes, it is. And so I that was a good Keanu Reeves. And so I really love when people just take something simple and they just blow it way out of proportion.
Well,
And just
it's not, totally out of the realm of thought, because we are considering that Metropolis is acting as a facsimile of New York in the DC universe. So I'm sure that Clark Kent has been told to F himself any number of times over the course of a day. So if he can get himself pregnant, give him the mouth, baby.
Tracy?
Well, that was delightful. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you sharing.
Horrifying, yeah.
Just because, I feel like people aren't, lying awake in their beds enough. What happens if Superman wanted to get someone pregnant?
I also float back to the Stan Lee line from Mallrats, which
Yes,
is,
thank you.
you might want to get him looked at because of his obsession with superhero sex organs.
Rest in peace.
Indeed.
Good night, sweet prince.
What about the Thing? Is his dork made of orange rock like the rest of him, or?
That is such a good through line in that movie.
It's very interesting. I also shudder to think of what Mr. Fantastic might get up to.
If you
Oh
watch Venture
my.
Brothers, you can get a pretty good idea.
I recall very vividly. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's also a great arc. Anyway,
It's way too fun. Anywho, before we digress any further, I think that is sufficient for everybody here. So in case you're unaware, please go over and find our podcast on your preferred podcast provider app if you have not already, because we would love to entertain you in such a similar fashion every wonderful week. We have news shows winging your way every marvelous Monday morning, and I assure you, we are as engaging there as we are here. Just a little bit less sensual, sans the vision. But we appreciate everybody taking part. And of course, as Michael indicated earlier, smash all the things if you're enjoying what you hear here. It would help us out immensely. And don't do that dance ever again, my friend.
And if I may, Henry Cavill, if you see this, I've been married 6 years, but it's not that serious. He'll understand. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in.
He'd probably want to join.
Hashtag
Probably.
pull Courtney apart like soft bread.
Terror like Kleenex.
Stretch Marmstrong over here, I guess. Well, hashtag cucked by God.
Jonah.
Ladies and germaphobes, it has been delightful to see you again. It has been a hot minute since we have been here on the Tubes of You,
Sure.
and it's always wonderful to be back. But of course, if you want to see more video components here, this is not the only place you can find them. Courtney is doing the Dark Lord's work and keeping us alive over on the TikToks, so you can find us there. also in the link tree below. So go avail yourself of that. And if you're just curious as to what we have done previously, there are swaths of fan fiction that is here for your greedy consumption in playlists, in particular the one featuring this content. And so you can find countless hours of entertainment from us all being chuckle headed on this glorious platform, and it's lots of fun. But we also have all of our older episodes chronicled here as well, so you can go check those out. But I believe that that is going to wrap us up like Superman's cape in shame when he's got no place else to store the spooge. So for Disinformed fan friction, Disinformed after spunk, yeah, trying it on for size.
Okay.
Workshop.
Indeed. Workshop you. For Disinformed After Dank this week, we're going to have to get to Jess's porn name here this time. This is very exciting. I look forward to hearing it. She's been present.
I know the game. I think I know the rules.
Understood the reference and the point.
Yes.
Hooray. Well, for Disinformed this week, I am Kenton Eldorado.
Timothy Lone Cactus.
I am known by 2 names, 3 names, if you will. I am
Annoying
Robert
man.
Greer, Peter Greer, and or Algernon Greer.
Algernon Greer. Thank you.
Indeed.
Yes.
And I'm Jean Grey Ghost.
That would make me Marie Donald.
Damn.
Checks out. DuckTales. Ooh.
Ooh.
Suwoo. All right. Miguel Castaway.
Zippity zoop, we're out of here.